where we left off. I asked Malarkey about um, like the recruiting that you guys have done to get like such heavy hitters. You guys have had extreme success over the 1 year that you guys have been a group. So, what is attributed to like your guys' success at recruiting people, both in game and kind of poaching is not the right word, but like people that want to leave their group, what is drawing them to the sixth?
Um, I think this is something that I learned the hard way. I'm not sure if you guys know, but I used to lead another group called the 11th. Um, and I just learned when starting a new team, when we started this new team, that one of the most important things you can have, one of the foundations, that the pillars of a team, is making sure that everybody has a combined goal.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you're a casual team, half casual, half competitive, full competitive, or just a community where you play games, making that clear to everybody from the get-go. As soon as they join, you have a conversation with them and give them the rundown of what our values are, what our goals are. I think that sort of, created a ripple effect, if you will, with our members, and then they sent out the message to future members that joined later on that, hey, look, we're a serious team that's a competitive team. We're not a casual um, um, gaming community, if you will. I think that really, really is very, very important for a team to make that clear for everyone involved, for current members and future members, that look, we are a competitive team, and therefore it helps us bring in people that are more competitive, that do want to win, I believe.
Yeah. So, BP, what drew you to the sixth?
Um,
Surely Wilco.
yeah, well, I was just gonna say Wilco, but I don't want to give him. I don't want to give him all the
So
credit.
if you don't mind me asking, like when I really got involved in the comp like community as a whole, outside of the 21st. I know me and you had some history in the shit talking server, the first one that existed, but like you, to me, you seemed like a really staunch like seventh member. So I mean, if you don't mind me asking, like what kind of made you want to leave the seventh? Was it like just straight Wilco, or was there like some things that um, I don't really know how to word it. Like, what made you like open to the idea of leaving the seventh?
Well, it was like just internal problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like pre-season 3 of TPL, right? We had like a lot of players that didn't really play, but they still held like a command position, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like as a team evolves and like how they move on, they like you either stay ahead of the curve, right, or you fall off. And then like I could see that with how the command structure worked in the seventh. Like once you got to that high rank, there's no stepping down, right? Like you
Yeah.
either voluntarily step down or you're just there forever. I think that was a big problem in my eyes.
Just there, wherever.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so like I gave one of like Krieg, I gave him an ultimatum. Either let this guy step down, right, or I'm out. I'm off the team. And he chose the other guy, so I left and joined the sixth.
Yeah. And how would you say your time like in the sixth has been? Was it a smooth transition? Was there like I don't know. I haven't ever like personally left a group. I've been with the 21st the whole time. So how was it in those first couple days joining the sixth, and how long did it take you to get like onto their competitive team?
Um, I was given. So I went on vacation. I came back and I played a scrim against TFMC, I think, or it was like a midpoint match or something like that.
Mm.
And then I think Malarkey put me as just like infantry, as general infantry. And then they had the regular squad leads kind of lead that game. And during that game, I saw like a lot of things that I wanted Seventh to do at that time. Just like general map control, like OP placements and stuff.
Mm.
I saw that and I was actually like really happy that everything worked out in the end, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. All right,
Interesting.
so
Very interesting.
Sylvia, over to you. So being, a new group, obviously you're going to be trying out a lot of different strats to see which one works best for you guys. How many times, if you could like just kind of give a ballpark number, how many times would you say your guys' strats have changed? And you don't have to go into detail about like what exactly the strats were, but just kind of walk me through the first few months of a new competitive group, how that looks, and I'm sure there's a lot of brainstorming and a lot of people with different ideas, especially if they're coming over from other groups. You get a lot of conflict, not necessarily conflicting in the sense of like fighting, but a lot of conflicting ideas, like well, my group used to do this or my group used to do that. So how did that like kind of iron out to where you guys are now like one cohesive unit?
Yeah. So one of the things I think we did was we understood at the end of our time at 11PZ, the strategy wasn't working. And what we decided to do was, first and foremost, when we made this new unit, was throw all egos out the window. And that plays a big part in it, just being competitive as a whole. So we threw the egos out, we threw the strategy out, and we started fresh. And just like Backpack was saying, that we focus generally on some sort of type of sector control or map control, if you will. And we saw that we had weak points, whether it was offense at the time or defense at the time. And so now we've, I guess those strategies have matured a little bit, and now it's becoming more dynamic, but then also too at the same time almost more simple. We are still having our struggles here and there with certain things, and we've been implementing different changes to counteract those. But for the most part, it's been a development of the same strategy. Nothing has changed drastically yet. But again, one of the things that we are still working on and have implemented is some of the strategies we've taken from PC gaming, and some of those things are. And I've seen some of the better units do it too, where it's arty snipes with rockets. That's something that we're working on. The use of artillery in different fashions. We're looking at the idea of rocket snipes for all sorts of things. So those little key elements aren't necessarily strategy changing, but they're dynamic and they're layers to a whole. So the strategy's still kind of the same that we've been working with, and it's been working for us. Now we're getting into a heavier weight class, and that's what we want. See, we want to be uncomfortable, and so I have no doubt that our strategies are going to change sooner than later, if not drastically, in the near future. And that just comes from taking a punch on the nose and having to dig your heels back into the ground and then come back swinging. So just the loss the other night with 508, that was something that we didn't expect, honestly. And but we take that, as a good thing, because I love to be wrong, because that means I can find out why, right? I love to be wrong. That means I can come up with an answer. And so that's how we learn. So that's what we're looking at, is working on different strategies.
Yeah, so of course every group's goal is to be champions of like the comp leagues that they're joining, but in I guess a more realistic sense, what would you say is 4AD's, I guess, like, short-term goals?
Short-term goals, obviously we want to compete in the Freedom League and do well. Realistically, we don't see ourselves being on top anytime soon, but we've definitely come a lot further than we expected to with our placement in the summit.
Yeah.
We had some really significant wins for us, and we defeated some people that we didn't expect to defeat. And with what we call the founders of our group is the majority of the guys that came from 11PZ, we just were absolutely astonished and really proud of what we did in the summit compared to what we did last time in Summit 2 as 11PZ. So it's a night and day difference already, and we're continuing to keep that style of play up. So anything up is a good thing for us, honestly.
Yeah, so it wasn't all that long ago that TFL was created, and the Discord was recently opened up to other people joining. How was the conversation brought up to the group? Like, hey, there's on top of TPL and Summit, there's this new league, the Freedom League. How was that conversation brought up to the group, and what was kind of the reception? That obviously, you guys liked it because you're in it, but how did that conversation go, bringing it up? Like, hey, is this something that you guys want to do or not?
So for us, it was a pretty easy conversation, and it may be a little risky to say, but I don't like playing against European teams. I've had this conversation numerous times when we were in the Summit and also the People's Leagues, and the problem is that when you're a European team that's on a different time zone and a different server set for a North American, they're wanting to play on a Sunday at 3 p.m. for a decent time frame for both teams. But when you have families of, with kids and families that want to go out and do things on the weekend, it's just the cards are already stacked against you. I mean, what's it look like when Mike Tyson says, "Hey, I want to play you guys, but I want to play you, on no sleep, a red eye, so you're no sleep, but you can't bring any of your guys that you want because they're on a family vacation or something, and then your gloves are going to be heavier than his, so you're just going to punch slower." Latency issues and all that stuff just ends up shooting us in the foot to begin with. So with the Freedom League being primarily North American and having a set time frame on times that we start the competition and start the fights, that's something that we were really glad to see.
Yeah. I know I felt the same. It's easier for me to play later at night because I have a young son, so by the time the games typically start is around the time that I'm putting him to bed. Because like through TPL and Summit, once he was born, it took a lot of my ability to play away because I was with him all day. So I'm looking forward to it. I really feel for at least some of the groups that have Europeans in them because it's it's going to be asking a lot from them even if they're able to make it. But I think all in all, it's good. It's kind of bridging the gap between the end of TPL and the beginning of Summit. So for those groups that want to play year round, it's definitely something that's nice to see. So Plem, going over to you, kind of like I was saying earlier, with you guys being a consistent, force within the comp community, kind of going off the question that I asked Sylvia, what else do you think 508 can achieve? What are your guys' goals that you're, continually striving towards?
So very early on, we decided to not put like any specific goals on, for instance, Summit 1. We didn't know what we were getting into. We just wanted to see if it was something we enjoyed, something that we could do. And so, through that, we didn't do too well, but, we decided, hey, this is something that we're into, so we'd like to keep going. And so our goal quote unquote, for Summit 2 was just to do better. Obviously, there were some major strategy changes because, Summit 1, we were basically like, okay, these squads play offense, these squads play defense, ready, set, go. And so we definitely had to change things up a little bit from that and, got a little more complex. But so we wanted to work on our new strategy in Summit 2 and flesh it out and do better. And we did that. We ended up making the Valley Final. And then same for Summit 3. We wanted to improve, and once again we had changed strategy because the complex wasn't working, so we dumped it down a little bit more. Made it a little bit, we just simplified it, something that we knew we could execute well. And like I said before, even though we were able to win some matches against some very good teams, and we actually made it into the Summit, which was definitely a goal of mine to actually make the Summit, but I didn't want to put that on our guys because we didn't make the Summit, I didn't want them to feel like it was a failure of a season,
Right.
But we ended up doing that, which was awesome. That BZRK match, the end of that, when we won and knew we were going into Summit, it was quite the party for us. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, and then like I said, we kind of had that realization that the simple strategy is not really going to work against better teams. So if we want to continue to improve or beyond this point that we're at, we're going to have to once again start over. And that's been that's been kind of our MO is try something out. It works for a while, and then we're like, no, we got to get better. We got to do something different. And I really do think that what we've landed on now is something that can work for us going well into the future. And so we won't be participating in TFL. We wanted to, but we've been a NA and EU team for the longest time, and our EU guys just recently left to start their own clan, and it was all above ground. Like they told us before Summit, this is what they wanted to do, and we were all together on board, and they committed to staying with us throughout Summit to not screw us over. And so I couldn't have any more respect for those guys. They're a great group of dudes, and I know they're going to be successful. But losing them, we weren't sure how well we could do as far as performing and just filling out a roster with people that should be playing in a competitive league. So we decided to take this time off and kind of rebuild and regroup. And I think so far we've done a pretty good job. It's still early in the process, but we're looking forward to starting back up with Summit and TPL in October, I suppose that would be.
Yeah.
So. Oh, and now he's got the hat. Jesus.
So another question for you, Plem. So being in a group that's been around as long as 508 has, naturally, your group is going to go through some high points and go through some low points. So what would you say has been, in your time in 508, what has been like the peak that 508 has performed at, and then some of the valleys that you guys have gone through? How have you been able to weather the storm and get through that together?
So it's funny because I think both of those moments happened recently. We had our 2-year anniversary on July 4th of this year, and it was just after we had made the Summit. So it was after the BZRK match and going into the ROFS match, and we had a big group meeting to just kind of talk about where we've been and what we've been doing and everything, and just having that moment. And I had so many people reach out to me on that day just to let me know how much they appreciated the group and how having this online family, so to speak, just really means so much to them. And to hear that from everyone, it makes all the work that you have to put into it worth it, because that's really what it's about, is providing a space for people to have fun and to just get away from whatever they have stressing them out in the real world. And so that's really the main goal. And so to know that we were doing a good job about that was just awesome. And so I'd say that day was probably the highest point I can remember because of not just the competition success, but knowing that we were doing everything so well, and it was followed very quickly with probably the lowest of the lows from losing several really good members and really good friends. That that's the part about this that sucks is you can never please everybody, and
Right.
you want to you can do everything you can to try and make everyone happy, but that's just not possible. And you do make really good friendships and relationships with people in this game, and unfortunately sometimes the game gets in the way, and so that happened for us, and we lost a lot of people that we were really close with, and you know best of luck to them. We've moved on, and we're looking forward for ourselves, and I think that it really the strength of the community really showed through in that we had so many people wanting to step up and help out. More so than ever, guys were asking me, what could they do to help me or to get certain things going. So it was really cool to see the response that the guys had to that, and it just showed the strength of the community that even if we go through lows like that, we can come out on the other side and we're going to be okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's important, like to be able to weather the storm and for people to reach out and always offer their help. It is nice to see. The comp community is something that I didn't know existed when I first started playing the game. I thought Blueberry Lobbies was all Hell Let Loose had to offer. So it was definitely a really nice to be a part of, and being able to weather those storms, and be able to celebrate the peaks together is something that I think is pretty cool to be able to do. But I want to get into some of these questions from the live chat. So there's about 46 people that are in right now watching. So one of the questions was for you, Malarkey. Who would you say is your favorite member of the Sixth, and why is it white bread?
Who's my favorite member of the Sixth? That's a hard one. Probably, it's definitely not white bread.
I don't know. They seem to be. He seemed to be pretty sure that it was white bread.
Yeah. No, it's not. I think probably more aligned with people like just decent human beings, people that aren't a bit weird or psychotic. And white bread is one of those psychotic people that I probably tend to stray a little bit away from. No, I'm joking. It's a bit of an in team joke. My favorite members of the Six are almost everyone. Like, I know you're probably expecting that cliche type of answer, but I absolutely love them. Whether I'm playing with BP or late night gaming with Sergeant Wilco, or tanking with the newer guys like Archangel, or playing with the more quiet boys like Smutto. Every single one has their personality, and I can't see this group with anybody else or with any other people that we currently have. So my favorite members are all of them. But white bread is he's a bit of a special case, I'd say.
Yeah. Backpack. So I have a question for you. Bark wants to know if you want to comment on the old beef that me and you used to have on the shit talking server.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all for fun, right? There's like highs and lows in this game, and like being able to shit talk, I think, is just adds into the fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he seemed pretty adamant. He wanted an answer out of you to comment on that.
Oh, Bark. Hello, Bark.
Going through some of these other questions. Insert from the 21st wanted me to ask this question to the group. What are some sleeper teams that you guys have run into, or like matchups that you've seen where you kind of think like, say like a team, for example, like 4AD, or like some of these other groups that are either new or haven't been, performing the best or haven't performed the best like, in the past. Are there any teams that you like kind of look out for especially, or like kind of watch to see their matchups and the outcomes of their games?
So I have an answer to that, and it goes more back to the start of Summit. We've been playing 4AD a lot and getting to know those guys and seeing what they're capable of. And even though they were brand spanking new, it seemed they were competing with us. And I know that there was a time that because of the structure of Summit, it was looking like they might have been eliminated if it wasn't for other teams dropping out. And I was saying, like, these guys, they deserve a shot to be there. Like, they could really compete against some of these teams, and they ended up, proving me right and really shocking the world, I think, in a couple of their wins. And I think going forward, they're definitely going to be getting better and better and become one of those teams that you're not going to want to play when you see them on your schedule.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Sylvia.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we as a team, and I touched base on that earlier, where we kind of pay attention to the groups in our same weight class, if you will. And so our relationship was been pretty solid with 508 and 101. And we were doing the bi-weekly matches with them. And then 3-5 was on our radar, and we started to compete with them pretty regularly. And so we kind of measure how we're doing compared to the rest of those guys. So as those guys get better, we like to see ourselves getting better. And then, if we start beating them, then we start looking at other teams to go against. And so it all goes back to the iron sharpens iron. And so the thing about it is that we're constantly trying to keep a lookout on also teams that are kind of falling apart. I know BZRK falling apart kind of was one that was big, and we know that
was a shock.
Some of those, yeah, absolutely. And so we know we kind of have to pay attention to where those heavy hitters go. That was one thing that we kind of watched pretty regularly in Summit was the roster or the exchange, if you will, the stock market or whatever it was called.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of watched that, the transfer market, yeah. So we watched that kind of regularly just to see what all stuff was brewing in the background, to see where people were going. And so that's something that was interesting. But to sum it up, yeah, we've been kind of keeping our eyes on people in our weight class and just seeing how we compete with them.
Yeah.
If you'd allow me to answer it as well. I think
it's for the group. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a few teams that, at least for me personally, I've always sort of enjoyed watching them play, or been eager to see the results. One of them being BZRK. So it is a bit of a sad case to see what they're going through. We've versed them once so far, and they gave us absolute hell. So they were a really, really solid team back in the day, and it's a bit sad to see them go down the road that they are going. And I'm hoping the core group stick together and push through this turbulent area, because I do think they have something special. But also 3-5, I think 3-5. I don't know if you guys remember, but when they came in the scene, they came in swinging,
Mm-hmm.
beating big name teams, and being I remember a lot of our members saying, "Oh my God, they're playing as if it's a real military, and they have a lot of machine gunners set up, and I think their communication is really well." So 3-5 is one of those teams that I really enjoy seeing their results and gameplay. And 9May, I think 9May are a bit forgotten sometimes. Again, one of the teams that just gives us hell, and we struggle against 9May. We verse better teams on paper and seem to do well against, but then we verse 9May and we just can't go past 3-2. So them, and obviously our rivals, if you will, our neighboring rivals in Rofs. Rofs have always been an amazing team, and they continue to get better and better. So I'm always very keen to see how they're going and what kind of strategies they're playing with and the results they come up with.
Yeah. So going through some more of these questions, a lot of people, Plem, want you to turn your camera on because they don't think you're real.
Yeah, they're right.
Also, apparently there's rumors that around 90% of the 508 Discord is just pictures of Kermit. Can you comment on that?
I can neither confirm nor deny that. There is some Kermit content, but I will not get into the degree to which that is.
Kermit the Frog?
The one and only, yes.
Sylvia, I know some people said it looks like you're ready to go to a cattle auction.
Hey, gotta represent, gotta represent the South, man.
And BP, they also want to see your lovely face. They don't think you're real either.
I like to remain mysterious.
I just want to make a point. The reason I wore this was because of the last live session. They were making fun of somebody being all blue collar. So I had to come out representing, looking sharp.
Let's see. What else are people saying in here? Just give me 1 second. I'm looking to see what else people are saying. Oh, well, I guess one thing that we can talk about is the game that's going to be going on tonight, or should be starting here soon, with the 8th. How do you guys think that game's going to go?
I think the 8th are going to take it.
Yeah,
What do you
it's
guys think?
the 8th against the 11th.
Yeah.
So we've actually never played the 11th, so I'm not too familiar with them, but I do know that the 8th has been one of those up-and-coming teams. So I would side on them, but that's more so for lack of familiarity with the 11th. Nothing against them, but
Whose fur is that? Is that a cat or a wolf?
Yeah, so don't let me forget about what we were just talking about, but just going through the chat some more, people are saying that BP is AI generated. Plem is struggling not to fangirl over the cat.
I got two fat ones sitting right next to me. They know me well.
Jordan also said that Plem is Mr. House Computer from Fallout. He is Enclave.
I'm not even going to comment on that one.
So another question that I got earlier today before we went live, and then another one just now. Why do each of us think the 7th, a North American team, can't participate in the Freedom League? I answered this earlier. I don't know if any of you guys would know or have connections or really know anything. I am not a leader or have any position of power within the Freedom League, so I personally don't know how that conversation went. I would imagine they probably did try to enroll. As to why they were turned down, I personally don't know. In one of the future episodes, maybe next week, I can try to get one of the the mods or head people of the Freedom League to ask them directly. But I mean, as of right now, I personally don't know. I don't know if you guys have any other answer than that.
I don't really know that I have an answer. I was in the Freedom League rep chat for a little while, and I saw some discussions about that, but since it's not my league and it wasn't my decision, I don't really feel comfortable speaking on that. I'd let those people do that.
Yeah.
I think I've heard a few rumors that I just think can't stand on their own feet. There's no real good reason to keep a team out like the 7th. If anything, I believe, my personal opinion, if you want to be a legitimate league, you want to have the best in that league, and I just don't see why you wouldn't want to be approaching the 7th as one of the first teams to be in the TFL. I think one of the other reasons that the 7th aren't in there is because of the registration window. I think the registration was closed before the 7th showed interest. But other than that, any other reason, I just don't think there is. Yeah, I don't even think we should even humor it or acknowledge it, really, to say a team like the 7th shouldn't be in TFL for, these reasons that I just, rumors more than an actual reason, really.
Just got another question, which is a good one. What is something you want to see from the leaders of Summit for next season? Like any specific changes?
Let me hear it.
How much time do you have, Clem?
I'll get a notepad and send it to Roman Echo.
Yeah, look, I think everybody has heard me talk about this subject, but I think streaming should be an absolute, focus of organizers of a league. I just don't see why any team wouldn't stream, but for the organizers, I do think it should be a subject that's brought up for every single match. Hey, can we stream your match? That's one of the only ways to grow a league and a community is with streaming. It's with content, right? So for the people that don't stream and the teams don't stream for one reason or the other, I just think it's a missed opportunity. And sooner or later, we're going to be looking back at this time and saying, I wish we streamed more just so we can grow the scene more, just so we can have stories that we can, think back to and be like, oh, remember when this happened, remember when that happened, and have a laugh with our boys watching back some of our matches. I think we will regret it if we don't, just keep focusing on streaming. Organizers keep making it a point of contention on each match. I do hope that Summit and maybe even TPL make it a not mandatory, but at least something to talk about every match.
Yeah, so I can tell you that you and I are definitely in agreement on that, and I think that in large part the Oregon team for Summit as a whole are on the same page as that. Just the sad fact is there are some teams that for one reason or another don't want to stream, and their reasons are their own, and I won't speculate on what they are, but it's hard to force a team to stream that doesn't want to without causing issues. But as far as maybe pushing it a little bit more and trying to get it to happen a little bit more for the next Summit, I think that that's definitely something that would be on the table for us, because everyone loves getting to watch some of these matches. They're a lot of fun, and I couldn't have been happier with the match that we streamed on. Like it was great for us, and I think every team should have that opportunity, whether it's a win or a loss. It's good to get that exposure, and it's good for the league. So I do think that it's something that would benefit us, and it's definitely on our radar. I can say that much.
So how do you feel about the streaming?
So I know for AD, we've been pretty much from the start strictly against it, and the only reason is because, like I said, we've taken so many strategy tips from those who stream PC games, and I mean, you can stop at midstream and check and see where their garrison placements are and what the enemy movement is and what their movement is, and it's just such key information that really can change how a strategy is developed. So we would just hate to expose any of that. I mean, we've been making really good progress so far, and we've come out of the gate swinging. So I'd hate to give up any of our elements of strategy away with simple streaming. I mean, there's plenty of other ways you can create good content to share on YouTube and other stuff like that. I mean, we have highlight reels. We have guys that work on those constantly all the time, and we use those for either advertising posters or banners for the actual unit. But I mean, it's one of those things, and I've said it before, where you can bring people to the water, but you can't make them drink. And so there's plenty of content out there for Hell Let Loose, and they just have to jump in and check for themselves. Now, if they want a taste of competition, the only thing I can say is to join a milsim whether it's a new and up and coming one, or if it's somebody who's really good, like BZRK was, like or Sixth or anything like that. If you want to get with a heavy hitter, then definitely bring some skill. But we get guys all the time that have never been on the competitive roster, and they're just shocked at how much more intricate it is, and how much more communications involved and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's something that it's already out there. We don't feel the need to stream it, but devil's advocate on that.
Yeah, BP, what do you feel about streaming games?
I think it's great. I think more coverage of games, more streams is better for the community and the game as a whole.
So even though like the intent of the streams is to be set to a delay, for that off chance that it's not actually a delay, what are the concerns of like actually getting stream sniped? Like, I mean, I don't know if that's even a thing that takes place within the comp community, but I mean, it's definitely a thing in other games. But is getting stream sniped like not I'm not for it or against it, I'm just trying to play both sides, but is getting stream sniped a concern for you guys?
I think like generally, like with all competitive games, just like being a competitive game for like there's people who may or may not want to do that, but I think generally most of the console community, I feel like, wouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
There may or may not be one or two guys that would.
Personally, it's not something I worry about, because I trust, when Lads Let Loose was doing it, I know that they know what they're doing, and I wasn't expecting there to be any sort of a mistake that it wasn't delayed or anything like that. So that wasn't a concern for me. And there's so much going on in a match that to watch a stream while you're doing it, to hope that maybe it's not delayed, I don't know, like that might just be me being naive, but it's not even something that would cross my mind to try to do it. Like backpack, I just don't think that most teams would really do something like that. Again, there's going to be somebody out there that I'm sure would, but to me, it's just, I think that if someone was doing it within a team and it wasn't like a team sponsored thing, that team would shut it down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So that's just my thought on it.
Yeah. Now I'll let Sylvia and Malarkey make their comments about the whole or like closing statements about the streaming and everything, and then I'm gonna ask kind of one more question and we'll start to wrap it up. But yeah, Sylvia, so I know you said that you guys have always been kind of against the streaming. Is the stream sniping like something that definitely contributes to that? Yeah, like what have been your guys' biggest concerns?
So one of the concerns was the mishap, or if you will, with the 9 May, I believe it was, match, where there was no delay, and we were able to watch that, I mean, basically live as it was happening. And one of the things that, again, like I said, we've watched those PC gamers and how they set their structure up. And one of the things that I like to do is I'll record my gameplay, and just if it's a loss or if it's a win, I'll go back and watch my gameplay, and I'll look at my map and see where my guys were and where we had our garrisons and what worked for us and what didn't. And I encourage everybody to do that. That's how you get better. Is you got to learn from your mistakes, or you're going to learn from your wins. Just like football, when you go into the locker room and you watch the game footage, and we do that for everybody. So one of the things is if you're streaming, I mean, I do my research, so I'll look at, I'll try to find people's streams and see what they're doing, and I can get intel from that. It's not a secret, and it may seem devious, but it's part of warfare. Whether it's a game, but it's warfare at the end. It's a competition, so we're going to use what we can, and So yeah, I encourage everybody to stream. Actually, let me know if you'll DM me your links to streaming. I'd love to watch them.
Yeah. So Malarkey, going back to you, kind of the same thing. Like, is stream sniping, like, what would you say could be the potential downsides that may flip your opinion on streaming?
I think the only legitimate sort of argument for anti-streaming, at least personally, is how certain people, some people just don't have the bandwidth on the internet, or maybe they just don't know how to stream. That argument makes sense. Like some of my boys did try streaming and had issues with lag, or they crashed out. That's more than fair. But in terms of stream sniping, I mean, this is a question to everybody. I mean, when something goes your way in the game, let's say you destroy a garrison or you kill a tank, right? Is that the only win condition that you need to turn the tide, to cap a point, to finish the game? Or is it a, multiple things that need to go against the enemy team for you to get some sort of advantage over the team? And my question is really, I want to sort of just understand or help you guys understand that stream sniping is such a limited value risk for us. Limited value in terms of the people that are stream sniping, even if they know where your garrison is. One, they need to get to your garrison. And even if they destroy it, right, that doesn't stop the enemy team from still having control of that area, whether it's with OPs, whether it's with tanks, whether it's with arty or resetting a garrison. I just don't see how stream sniping can be valuable in a real solid way. Like, yeah, there are small things where, okay, now I know your tank's on the top right corner, I can maybe precision strike it if I'm lucky, if it doesn't move. But other than that, I don't, like, convince me on how somebody that is stream sniping can get value off of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to consider. I know that there's more than just 4AD out there that is against it. And I don't think that necessarily it's, taking down one garrison is the win condition or whatever. I think it's more beneficial not for a team that is actively playing, like, say, 508 is playing the 6th. I don't think that it's beneficial at the time for a member of the 6th to be watching 508 stream and be relaying, like, over a phone call, like, hey, they have a garrison in, like, D4 or something like that. I think it's more beneficial for teams that have either 508 or the 6th on a future game, and they can watch the stream and, be able to see. Typically, if you have the same commander, and I know the maps change and the objective positions change, and the game is ever flowing, so things are always going to change. But I think if teams run with the same commander throughout a tournament, a pattern definitely forms, and a certain play style that the commander likes to run definitely forms. So I think just being able to know the, like, overall strategy of, like, where the commanders like to put their garrisons, how they drop airheads, stuff like that. I think it's more beneficial for a team that's going to be playing you guys in the future than it is, teams playing against each other at that time. But I mean, it's definitely something to monitor.
If you'd allow me, I do have something to say about that.
Go ahead.
And I'm going to use an example that is relevant to the time. When we versed Rofs, which was the match before the 7th match in the summit competition, we knew that Rofs are going to be studying our footage, right? We specifically knew they're going to be going out there preparing, like any team, to go up against a solid team in a semi-final. They're going to be preparing. Now, because of that, we had certain triggers in place, right, in the game, right, to almost counter their intel, right? And I implore you to go back and watch this Rofs game, right? They set up a very wide front, preparing for us having a wide front, which is what we usually do, right? But again, we had certain triggers, and it's hard to really pinpoint them on the map or in the game if you're just looking as a spectator, right? When we recognized that they're countering our usual strategy, right, we had our new strategy in place. So it's like you can almost play mind games with your enemy or whoever is going up against you. I think the best teams have an adaptive strategy. I always say to my boys that a strategy is only perfect until battle begins. Until the game begins, yeah, the strategy is perfect. But once the game is on, all your doctrine, where the garrison should go, where the OPs should go, and all that goes out the window. It's a very chaotic game, and you have to adapt on the go. So, and this is again for you, for example, Sylvia. It's another sort of avenue where you can outplay a team, right? Where you can show a certain strategy, they can prepare for it, but then you go out there in game, recognize that they're preparing for your strategy, and play something else that can be beneficial for you guys.
Yeah, I definitely see how that could be beneficial. Unfortunately, we're not there yet as far as having a different playbook. That's something in the future we'd like to do is come up with some different playbooks and go from there. And just to counteract some of those things, I mean, if you can come up with a strategy for certain teams, then that would be ideal for sure.
Yeah, and I think that, kind of along the line Malarkey was saying, that is a reason for streaming, because the more teams that are doing like what Malarkey's talking about, the better it is for competition in Hell Let Loose. Watching film is a part of any sport or any, a lot of other online games and stuff. The NFL teams watch other teams film all the time to get an idea for what they're doing, and they do exactly what Malarkey said. They show one thing knowing they're going to expect this, and they do something else off of it. So the more teams that have their film out there and the more teams that are watching film on other teams, I think the more complex these strategies are going to get, the more level the playing field will get, because everyone is having to adapt and having to, kind of think on that next level of how to use what you've done in the past to set up the team you're playing now to get them in a position you want. I think that it's a major plus for Hell Let Loose, and the more teams we have doing it, the better.
Agreed.
Yeah. So some of the last questions that I'll ask you guys. Some people are saying, why isn't Summit using the same RD rule that PC Comp uses? And I'm assuming he's talking about, and if you're still in here, let me know if I'm saying the right thing in the chat. But what I'm assuming they're getting at with the RD rule that PC uses is the one unkillable RD
Right.
gun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I can't really speak to that. The decision for that was made before I was put on the Orga team. I will say that we were invited to take place in the Lamington Invitational, and I was really excited to play in that because they had that rule of the one RD that you can't kill, and I was really excited to see how that would go. Unfortunately, that sort of fell apart. But I think that's something that would be great to look at. We haven't spoken about it as a team at all, so I'm not going to say it's something we're even going to consider, because, I make graphics, Echo and Rum make decisions. So it's something that, I'm sure we might talk about, toss around, but one thing I would say that probably is a reason for not doing it yet is just enforcing it is a little bit tricky, especially if you're not streaming, because if you have one gun firing at the offensive point, one firing at the defensive point, and there's no one back there at the moment they can't go back there to try to kill the guys. You really have to be watching for it in the game and then prove it. And so I think it was just sort of a Pandora's box kind of situation that we didn't want to open it. But that being said, it's not something that's necessarily set in stone, but whether it'll change or not, I can't speak on that.
I'd like to add to that. I think the one RD, untouchable RD, is absolutely broken. Yeah, just like not being able to shut down RD for a whole game is, I think, really stupid. We played a script. We this was when I was in 7th. We did a 7th for 7th, one RD untouchable. let me tell you, I was able to shut down the whole push, just myself alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fun. I don't think.
No, and I mean it's hell for especially like the point defense teams. Like I remember in Summit 2 we played against Merc, I want to say on Foy, and I was running point defense, and we weren't doing like any sort of unkillable arty or whatever. It was just they were doing a really good job of keeping their arty alive. And I want to say shit, dude. Like I died like 60 or 70 fucking times on point just from arty alone. So I mean I know that for a long time, and maybe even now, everyone's been talking about like the Panther being the meta, and like the Panther needs a nerf and stuff like that, and the Panther's overpowered. I personally think that accurate and continuous artillery fire is by far one of the best things that a team could have, because it can, like you said, BP, it can either completely stop a push or it can completely decimate any sort of point defense. It just depends on what team has that artillery superiority. And I've seen some teams employ some ridiculous strategies just to keeping their artillery alive. So I think that alone speaks to the meta of, good artillery. So I think making it unkillable is just going to be miserable for the teams. Like it's nice to say, yeah, like I want to have unkillable arty until you're on the receiving end of it, and then your whole idea on that's going to change.
So real quick, I'm sorry, I do have to bounce on out of here.
We're gonna end here soon anyway.
I've got some guys messaging me asking me where I'm at, so I really appreciate you having me on. It was a fun conversation and something I'd like to do again sometime. And just so people know I'm a real human, there's my face. I'm actually a person.
Yeah,
and now you know why I don't have the camera on, because I don't look quite like Sylvia does, fucking with a tie. All right, y'all have a good one.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, bud. See ya.
But yeah, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We're almost at an hour here, and then for you guys that are in the chat, we actually recorded like 30 minutes prior to this, but for some reason it wasn't live on YouTube. So I'll have that video posted as well as this live. But I just want to say thank you guys all for being here. Malarkey is, especially you, it being, early in the morning, and, Sylvia and Backpack, it being, nighttime for us. I really appreciate you guys being here, and look forward to most likely getting you guys on a future episode.
Yeah, glad to be here. It was good to hear Backpack's voice. I like I said, I've heard about you. You're obviously a really well-known player in the community, so it's cool to finally sit down and chat with you. And Malarkey, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Sylvia. Appreciate it. And just a quick thing. I just want to thank Winters for this podcast. It takes a lot to go out there on a limb and put your face out there and put your time and effort into something like this. So I really do thank you, and I think the whole community is gonna benefit from what you're doing here. So and the more haters you have, man, the better success that you're doing. So don't listen to the haters. We absolutely appreciate you and love what you're doing, man. So keep at it, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, but thanks for having us, Winnie.
Yep, you guys have a good rest of your night.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yep, see you.
Catch you later, Sylvia.
Catch you guys.
Yes, sir.
Bye, boys.
See you later.